you see your team take the break after a long stretch of playing Power 5 teams? You come here, have a big 40-point win, they rebound after that stretch.
Yeah, well, first and foremost, I think they've done a really good job of taking care of academic stuff. Finishing up, that was our goal to try to finish up strong. I think we've done that. We've been able to get in and get some practice. We've been able to get some really good rest, get some individual work. Today will be the first day when we start to really hone in on our opponent that we're playing on Saturday. They're a good team, have a lot of respect for them. They're well coached, can really score the basketball. But I think the break has been good for us. It came at a really good time after a tough stretch, and hopefully we make it work for us.
Did you want your players to kind of disconnect from basketball for a little bit, or how engaged do you want them to stay?
Yeah, I wanted them to. I mean, the main thing is that I wanted them to focus on exams, on finals, on their exams that they had, on the papers, on the presentations, on all of those things. I think, and especially now with NIL involved, sometimes we can be guilty, and we're probably guilty of it too, the coaches, of remembering their students. This isn't all the way professional yet. It's close to it, but they do have a responsibility of being student athletes. And so, but when we have extended periods of time, there is a disconnect I want them to have. Our season is very long. It encompasses 2 semesters. They don't get the normal things. They aren't normal students. And so you don't get a Thanksgiving break. You really don't get a fall break like everyone mostly gets. You get a few days for Christmas, not what the normal student gets, but it's what we sign up for when we do this. And so whenever we have a chance to have an extended break, there is a period in there or moments that I do want them to disconnect from basketball and just go be a student.
Since the end of last season, development college basketball as a whole, have you seen the sport become more professional even than it was maybe a year ago at this time?
Yeah, I think so, and I think it's going to continue to go that way. Anytime money is involved, especially a lot of money, the way it's covered, I've watched some games, just had some games on TV, and some of the things I've heard the commentators say at times, it's mind blowing. I heard one commentator say the other day, I don't remember what game it was, but this guy's getting paid too much money to miss a shot like that, or to not, and I don't think I've ever heard that said in an NBA game. And I watch a lot of NBA. I don't think I've ever heard that said. So it's covered differently to a certain extent, and I think you're seeing some of the young people feeling the pressure. And that's what comes along with it. I think that's the thing that a lot of people fail to discuss or realize or talk about as we just open the floodgates really without any guardrails on this, is the impact that this is going to have on young people over time. And I think you're starting to see some right now, but I don't think you really, it's hard. I mean, one of the reasons you see a lot of professional athletes, when they're done, they have a really hard time. They have a really, really hard time. And I think you're going to start to see that even more on the college level now, because some of these guys, this will be the most that they'll make. And I want them all to make it, but the responsibility of that, if you gave me money, when I was 18 to 21, 22, I wasn't equipped or prepared to handle all the things that come along with it. So I think you're going to see some of that as we go forward.
In terms of the NIL market right now, how much do you see that changing? Is it solidified at all right now, or is it still difficult?
No, it's changing. I mean, every year it's going up. For the first time this season, we've dealt with it with high school seniors. I don't know. I'm not saying we're naive. We're not naive, but we didn't have to deal with that with last year's freshman class. When I say last year, I'm talking about Jalen, Bub, Marlon, and at the end getting Papa. That was never part of the equation of us getting them. It was something that was discussed after the fact, after they got here. And we talked about we're trying to do something and we think we'll be able to do something, but it wasn't a determining factor in us getting those guys. That's completely gone now. And so that's the first time we have seen it. Now, other people may have experienced it, especially when you're recruiting top 20, top 10, top 15 guys. But for us, this is the first time we've experienced that. So I imagine then when you get to March and April, when the season's over with and you get into the portal, those numbers are going to be way higher than they were last year, just like they were way higher this past spring and summer, than they were the previous year.
You've been working with Alan Green for almost 2 months now. How has he adapted and shown his plan for this?
Yeah, well, I think it helps that he has a background in the SEC at Auburn and coming from Tennessee. I think he understands, the need for all sports, but especially football and men's basketball. And I think he has a plan to try to help fundraise, and then hopefully, get assistance and help from the university when this thing switches and when you go to true revenue sharing. That's his plan, and I think we all have full confidence that he'll be able to execute it.
Jeff, you guys are 11th in the net rankings. I know in the past years you said that you try not to focus on stuff like that, but do you think that higher ranking that you guys is more about the 9-2 start that you have, or about how things have scheduled out this year? Was that a strategy that you guys tried to change from last year? Because I know West Virginia and Missouri weren't expected to be what they were last year.
Yeah, well, it's first of all, I didn't know that we were 11, so I appreciate you letting me know that. I do think we try to be mindful in scheduling, and if you really look at it, the only difference in scheduling last year is we added Ohio State. I mean, it's maybe a little bit like it was 2 years ago where we had Vanderbilt. We returned a game which we had a home and home with them. But everything else is kind of lined up the same as far as the number of high major teams. The difference is it seems like West Virginia is better. Certainly it seems like Mississippi State is better than Missouri was last year. And then LSU, I think, will be better than Oregon State was. Those were our three, games last year in the non-conference that really hurt. Florida was fine for us. But then adding Ohio State and being able to win. Now we hope those teams continue to win. That's the big thing. I know West Virginia's best player, I saw I don't know if he's back, the coach's son. I don't know if Tucker's back. So Ohio State had another kid take a leave of absence, and hopefully he's okay. That's the main thing. But I also think the manner in which we've won some of these non-conference, non-Power 5 games, and even the West Virginia game, the manner in which we won, I think that's probably helped our metrics some. And so I think all those factors consider into it.
Do you think part of that's also any change in planning you guys had going into this year, or is it more so just about, hey, the circumstances which we lined up just are working better?
Well, I think again, we were mindful. That's why we added Ohio State, so that was part of it. And then, some of the non-Power 5 or Power 4, however you look at it, we tried to be a little bit more mindful. We really tried to look at like 4-year metrics for those schools and trying to look at trends and see. We tried not to play anyone in the 300s. We tried to stick, between the 100 and 200, 250 range. There, I think. Look, I don't know what any of them are, but I would think off the top of my head, as far as net, VMI is probably the lowest. I think, maybe not, and that's one that we didn't schedule. That was part of the tournament, part of the Greenbrier tournament. But the rest of them, I think, have done. I know Radford's done well. It looks like Murray State was doing well. I think they lost last night to Indiana State. So we need these teams to continue to be good. When we scheduled them, we thought that they would be good in their conference and have a chance. This team, Sam Houston, won their league last year, the regular season. I think they were picked in the top 2 in their league this year. They have a kid that was, I think, in some publications, preseason player of the year in Wilkerson. So it's a really good team that, we think will win this year. Hopefully they don't win Saturday, but we think, it'll be good for our metrics going forward.
Is this more or less what you used to have to do with the RPI, or is it different now? Is there more emphasis placed on it?
It seems like it's more emphasis placed on this now, on the net, at least from everything I heard when we didn't make it last year. And I was probably in the past naive to all of it. I just thought if you won, especially if you're in a big conference, when I was the head coach at Oklahoma, if we won, if we were 500, I thought we were getting in. Historically in the ACC, I've always felt that way because of the respect and the stature that I've held this conference. But now these numbers and metrics matter more. And so I'm not as naive to it anymore. I look at it a little bit closer now and try to be mindful of that as we put together a schedule.
Would you say that the outside perspective of the ACC has kind of impacted that to kind of change your scope of how you guys need to approach that?
Yeah, I mean, it has to. It has to. I mean, what is it? Perception's reality a lot. Yeah. And our league the past 2-3 years currently, is not looked at as one of the better leagues. And the way they do the numbers probably show it. I know I've heard a lot about the ACC-SEC challenge this year, and I get it, rightfully so. It's just amazing to me that you didn't hear it in the years past when we won, and there were times we won convincingly, whether it was the Big Ten challenge. You didn't hear the noise as loud as you hear this right now. But certainly you got to look at all those things and look at the trends and try to position your program with the team that you have and you think you'll be as best as you possibly can. That's the other thing about last year. I mean, I knew that we had 2 freshmen and we had 2 guys coming in one from the Atlantic 10, one from the Big South. And so we tried to be mindful early, knowing that it's going to take those guys some time to figure this thing out at this level. It's very hard to win with freshmen. And people thought that I was crazy last year to trot 2 freshmen out there. So again, you have to be mindful. I think you have to know your team and then try to figure out what's the best way to schedule for you, for your program to have success.
How do you feel about the fact that not only do you guys have to have a good season, but you have to root for the teams you play to have good seasons too?
It's the way that it is now, man. I mean, it's again, it used to be in the ACC, if you were 500, you got in. And some of these other leagues, you can be under 500 in conference and you're still getting in. I think a couple of years ago when we played Mississippi State, and I think they may have been under 5. I know there have been some teams in the Big 12, in the SEC and the Big 12 that have been, and the Big 10 that have been under 500 that have gotten in. Our league used to be able to do that. It's not like that anymore. So it's just the way that it is. I mean, look, for me, I root for everyone to win. I don't want to see anyone lose. I know how hard these jobs are. I know that the people that are in it, the 370-something, it's a privilege and honor to be in one of these spots. None of us take it for granted. All of us want to win. Everyone, I think, for the most part, is trying everything they can to position their programs to win. I root for everyone to win except if they're playing Pitt. I want everyone to have success. Again, I know how hard it is. I've been on both sides of it. I've been the hot guy. I've been the guy that is on the hot seat. I've been the guy that got fired. So I understand how hard it is. I have empathy for everyone that's doing this. I have a great deal of respect for everyone that's doing this, for the men that are in the arena that are actually doing it, for the young people that are actually out there doing it. And I want everyone to have success doing it.
How's Dame doing?
He's good. He's getting better. I mean, he's chomping at the bit to get back out there. It's still going to be a little bit, still in a cast. So he's not able to do anything in practice except for conditioning stuff.
Is there a target, you know?
No, I mean, I still think we're looking at that 6-week mark. I don't think anything has changed with that. I think once he gets out of the cast, and I think the plan is to get out of the cast hopefully next week, next Tuesday, and then go to a splint where he can have more movement in his thumb, and then start to rehab and strengthen that, and then we'll see from there.
You guys have won back-to-back Six Man of the Year awards with your guys, and the way that you guys have come off the bench has been an asset this year. How much is strategizing to find that first guy that you want coming off the bench to be an impact player? How much does that go into game planning and practice and what you're looking for?
Well, it goes into as we put together our team and as we're trying to figure out roles. You know, sometimes you can be one of the first 5, you can be a starter, but you may not end up playing starter minutes. You know, I learned early as a coach when I was at VCU, I had a kid that played for me there that was a really good player. I just thought he was better for us there coming off the bench. His name was Michael Doles. And once he came off the bench, he never really went out the game. And he was really good. And for us, we didn't have a lot of depth on that particular team. It was my second year. But he was a guy that was so versatile, he could play 1 through 4 and guard 1 through 4. So he was really like 4 different guys because you could plug them in anywhere. And so I learned the value of that. I think it's important for, at least for me and for the teams that I coach, I like to have someone that can come off the bench that can provide a punch, that can score, maybe someone that just increases the energy. And we've been able to find that the past couple of years here. And, you know, we certainly had that with Zach. He's in a starting role right now. When Dame comes back, we'll see. Maybe Dame's the 6th man. I don't know. Biba certainly is the guy that can do that for us. We think we have some guys as Amsel gets more comfortable and more confident and more experience with minutes. We think he can provide a spark for us. We think we have guys that can do that. But the one guy like you're talking about, like we've had the past couple of years, you know, with Nike and with Ish, hopefully that's something we can have this year.
How's Guillermo been the past few days?
He's been good. He's been good. I mean, it's been great for him to get away, to concentrate on school, you know, to get in here and get back to practice, to be around his teammates. He's very lucky and very fortunate, and he knows this. He has unbelievable teammates. And when you're struggling and you're going through it, you know, it's important to have that. He has guys that believe in him, and, you know, I think he'll continue to get better for us.
You had some strong words of encouragement when we last talked to you about Guillermo and how the crowd reacted to some of his mistakes in games. What kind of coaching do you give to him to keep his psyche up, you know, in the middle of those stretches? Do you say anything special, or do you he keeps himself going through those?
No, I mean, when you're going through it like he's going through it, it's hard, and you can't do it by yourself. There's some things you have to do that only you can do, and I'm speaking from experience. I know this. But it's really, really important to have good people around you and people that are encouraging, people that see what you're going through. That was one of the things when I was going through this years ago, but I had great teammates, but I'm not sure anyone else saw it, like really saw it and understood it. But it's something that he's going to have to get through. And it's something he's going to have to fight through. In a lot of ways, I think he'll be way better as a young man as he becomes a man, and as a player because of it. I think these young people now, it's so easy to leave. It's so easy to just jump ship. I think you have to go through hard stuff in order to become a man and to be ready for the real world, whether it's a professional player or a professional you're working. You have to be able to go through hard things and figure things out through difficult moments. And I think this is going to end up being really, really good. It's not that way now for him because it's hard. When I was going through it, it was the worst thing. I'm so grateful for it. I'm so grateful it happened in college with the things that I went through after I left, you know, with injury, with illness, with career and all of those things. I don't know if I would have been able to survive those things if I didn't go through what I went through during my 4 years in college, especially year 2, 3, and 4. And so I think this is going to help him. And in fact, I know it's going to help him in the long run. And he's an unbelievable kid. Like I said then, after the game, there's been no one that's been more proud to wear this jersey than he and his brother. And what they mean to our program and have meant from the first time they've got here, they injected an energy and a spirit into our program that our people, our fans have felt, and they need to continue to feel that and continue to support all of these guys through good and bad. That's all I was trying to say.
You gave a pretty you logged back into Twitter to give some shout outs to Pitt volleyball. What kind of an inspiration has that program been? What Dan and those women have done this year for you guys?
Well, it's really not just this year. It's the past 4 years. They've been unbelievable, and watching their teamwork, their camaraderie, the love and respect they have for each other, the accountability they have in their program, the joy they have in playing, and then how friggin' good they are, man. Like, they are unbelievable. And so I was at the game. I haven't logged in a while, so I couldn't remember. I wanted to do it at the game. I couldn't remember my information, and it's the one thing on my phone that's not saved. So I had to figure out how to log back in and figure out my information again, and wanted just to do that. I text Dan, and then immediately logged back out.
Now that you know your information, you'll be tweeting all the time, right?
Nope. I'm out. I'm done.
Do you guys have a plan as a team to watch them tonight?
Not as I'm sure the guys will. I mean, they get together and they do stuff. I mean, I'll watch it at home with my family, or I watch it on my phone. My daughter has a game tonight, so I'll watch it on my phone. But yeah, our guys. I mean, one of the things I love about all the student athletes here is the genuine support and respect they have for each other. And these young people, men and women, man, they support each other. You'll see student athletes at our games. Our guys go to all the different sports here and try to support them and their friends. And they have a respect and an understanding of each other because of shared experience and what you go through and the experiences of being a student athlete. Also, I think one of the main things is the sheer love and pride these student athletes here have in wearing this jersey and what it means to them, all of them. And it's a really, really cool thing to see and be a part of.
Papa seems like he's done some good things for you guys every time he comes in. Is there anything he can do to earn some more minutes?
Yeah, he'll earn more minutes. I mean, just keep playing, knowing what we're doing, knowing the game plan, knowing the defensive assignments, knowing the plays. He's getting better. He's getting more confident in his body, and just continue to work hard in practice.
How would you kind of assess the way that Biba continues to adapt to playing at the collegiate level?
Yeah, I think the more experience he gets, the better he's going to be. He has talent. He's confident. He plays hard. He's competitive. It's just he's going to see different things as we go forward. He's now, with what he just did in the last game, I'm pretty sure he'll be higher up on the scout. There'll be more things said about him for this game on Saturday. There'll be more attention given to him, and that will be that way as we go forward. And that's the thing about being a freshman. All of this stuff is new. He's fortunate that he has some really good older guys that love him, that really, really love him and respect him and want to see him do really, really well. And they have experience. They've been through it. They've been freshmen. They've struggled. They've lost confidence. They've been in the doghouse. They've gotten yelled at. They've maybe not known an assignment, or they've had to figure out how to study more as far as game plan and personnel and all of those things. And they don't, and I don't mean this in the wrong way, but they aren't threatened by him. They want to see him be successful. Sometimes as an older guy, if you have a freshman that's supposed to be pretty good, you can maybe not tell him some stuff or be a little bit, not as good with them because you're afraid, you feel threatened that they're going to take your minutes. I know about that too. He doesn't have that, and that's a really, really good thing, and I think it's why he's going to continue to get better and better. All right. See you guys.
Thanks, Jeff.